All right, so crypto's back in the news, huh?
Oh man.
Yeah, this
So
this hot coin shit is indicative of just huge problems, not just with people's mental health. That's obviously your area of expertise, but just a fundamental lack of understanding of financial principles and uh, just stupidity on the part of people.
agreed. Yeah, this whole thing is just indicative of a bigger problem because I
Mm.
mean, obviously, man, I know you got some opinions on the financial aspect, the whole crypto part of it, but like before Haley Welch, the Hawk Tuah girl, there have
Yeah,
been so many influencers that push some kind of coin, some kind of a thing, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think they know what it is. I mean,
probably
this
not.
girl, I mean, this 22-year-old girl, God bless her, she's really milking that 15 minutes, but she probably has people around her that say, "Hey, let's use your name and this will be cool and fun." Kind of like the same way that like, when you're a child, you want to do model planes or something like that or
Right,
a sandbox and they're like, okay, except that they're telling you, "Hey, it'll make you money" and all this stuff, right? It's
right.
a novelty. And then this is
Yeah,
what we got now.
yep. And it's unfortunate. So you do bring up a good point. I don't think there was any. Well, I want to believe there was no malfeasance on her part. I don't know her, so she could be an asshole. Who knows? But you're absolutely right. A lot of celebrities, whether they're famous for artistic talent or sports talent or just advocating that you spit on that thing, uh, everyone wants to come to them and say, "Hey, let me use your name, image, and likeness to shill some crap." And you know what? Most of the time, it's legitimate. Legitimate as in you're getting something for your money, even if that something is gold bond. But the problem with this, I think, is this took off so quickly, and this was like $500 million on this stupid meme coin before it got rugged. This, I think, took off so quickly. I think in part because of how connected we all are, and the fact that crypto is back in the news. It's the hot trend, right? Like Hawk Tuah was several months ago, and
Right.
then she got her Talk Tuah podcast. And honestly, if Bitcoin, the original shitcoin, hadn't hit 100,000, I don't think this would have happened. But this is just indicative of you know celebrities get it taken advantage of just like everybody else, right? They're all human. Being famous does not make you smart. Being rich does not necessarily make you smart, but at least with capitalism, there's a system in place to punish you for stupidity. I'm going to be honest, uncharacteristically caring. I'm going to show too much empathy for my own good. I do feel bad for the people that got taken advantage of, right? Were a lot of them, dumb? Yeah, probably, but it's also 500 million bucks, most of which disappeared. In any other planet, in any other world, that's called a criminal act. I sincerely hope none of our listeners dump their life savings into this garbage. And handing it off to you for the mental health side, at some point we're going to have to discuss about don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. People have off themselves over less than this. Like, so, yeah, I do feel bad for anybody who got taken advantage of, especially if they're one of our listeners and are therefore worth more than the average person. But
Agreed.
yeah, I as cruel as this is going to sound, again, not financial advice. I really hope they learn their lesson, and I really hope they're able to just take their lumps and move on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And kind of meeting you halfway on this, like I'm not going to give financial advice, but I will give my opinion, and that is if you listen to her and you're a fan of hers, what it's like you're better off listening to her, I'm sorry, for fallacious advice versus financial advice. And let me tell you, I find it
I think
unlikely.
those overlap.
Yeah. Mental health and finance does overlap, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, I would wholeheartedly recommend finding a woman that could do the things that she got famous for. That might alleviate some of your financial losses.
For the record, I never saw any evidence that she can actually do that. She just recommended it.
That's true.
It was a non-professional recommendation.
That's right. Those who can't do teach. Yeah.
Right. And those that can't teach phys ed or get tenured. One of the two.
But listen, man, this is indicative of a bigger problem, and I'm going to liken it to the episode, my LA Sessions podcast that you guest hosted on about environmental protesters. Remember, I said that sometimes people who don't have a direction in their life, they're looking to attach themselves to something. They look to something else outside of themselves for meaning. Now, sometimes it could be something really productive, like the military, right? You're serving a greater purpose in that sense. But in this situation, I'm sorry. I'm sure she's a great gal in real life, but she's not a greater, thing that a person can rally behind. Maybe you got a crush on her. I'm sorry, but hawking her meme coin is not going to give you entry into the kingdom of Hawk Tuah. It just ain't going to happen. Okay.
You're not getting in her DMs. I don't know if their DMs are open. I don't know what the hell a DM is. I don't give a shit.
It's just people want to belong really bad. And first of all, I got to give a shout out to CoffeeZilla. Holy shit. He took them to task on that little conference call before they muted him.
Yeah.
But like, holy crap, though, this looks bad. The more you listen, the worse it gets, because you realize this poor girl is over her skis. Like, you could tell, like, for all we know, they probably told her that something like this was literally a coin with her face on it or something. I don't think she knows, like, blockchain from like anything. I don't think she understands it. And she probably doesn't understand the criminal implications. Like, she probably won't do a day in jail, because I mean, any judge talks to her realizes her capacity is a little diminished, like she doesn't, and that's no insult to her. She doesn't understand any more, any less than the average person. Crypto is not easy to understand. Most people just see like this get rich quick scheme, right?
Yes.
Which, like you,
that's called a Ponzi.
Exactly. You and Vin have I've been very, very clear how you do not support that type of investment.
Correct. They're digital coins that are tied to zero cash flows, that are tied to zero productive assets. They gain value because the person that buys them after you is stupider than you. And, that is literally a Ponzi. That is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. Those that come later pay those that came before. And, you and I grew up in the era of 2x2 and was that I forget what the hell it was called, but it was a glorified timeshare that a lot of the Korean students at our school tried to rope us into helping them sell, and the door-to-door knives, like their stuff is everywhere, right? And at some point, some armchair idiot is going to say, well, why didn't she vet the people that were going to make them right? That's not her fucking job. Okay, number one. Second of all, how are you going to vet something you don't understand? I can't vet a heart surgeon. I know roughly where the heart is, and I know movies always, put it up here in the armpit or the shoulder blade. Right. It ain't there. But okay. Well, this guy says a heart surgeon. What the hell do I know? I gotta trust him and hope he doesn't put me in the morgue.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. And I think this is, again, like I said earlier, this is indicative of a bigger problem, and that is people, especially young people, because a lot of the people that are commenting on like, "Hey, Hawk Tuah, where's my money?" and all, they look like they were younger people, right? And my worry is, it's because she's not the first, and she won't be the last. Correct. Of like these instant celebrities. I think like Paris Hilton, the Kardashians, kind of like started that whole thing. Yeah. And right now, she's going to be the next in line, and it's going to be someone else that's going to shill a product just like her, right? But my concern is for the people like you mentioned, man. My heart goes out to the people who lost money too, man. And it's easy to laugh at them and all that. Yeah. But the reality is, I think they were blinded by this idea, just like the people who go on OnlyFans. They think like that
she likes me, Brian.
Listen, it's a tale as old as time, right? Before OnlyFans, you had to tell people, listen, man, the stripper doesn't really like you.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, they don't like you.
Although you bring up a sore point. Why the hell do I stopped going to strip clubs because I always got the ones that want to show me pictures of their kids. Like, Although now in retrospect, maybe that meant that they did like me. I don't know. Why the hell else would you like? This is my 3-year-old.
Well, because you just give off daddy material.
Do I give off poppy vibes? I don't give off daddy
Yeah,
vibes. Different kind
yeah,
of daddy vibes.
yeah. They were like, "Hey, papi."
No, go to hell.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure some of those Puerto Rican or Cuban strippers
Oh
loved
God.
you. But no,
Actually, they did. Now that you mention that.
man. But no, I mean, look, the reality is, no, a lot of the people who fell for this are just very impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's we would lose our freaking minds if we ever got so brain dead that we actually blew like 50 grand on something like this that has no inherent value whatsoever.
Right.
However, sometimes we got to take ourselves out of it and realize, like, see, Willie, you're an expert in your field for a reason. And sometimes when you talk to the average Joe, then you realize how much you know, how little they know. And that's not an insult. It's
Right.
just like you said, if you talk to a heart surgeon, different levels to this, right?
Yeah. But if I talk to a pro athlete, I don't know a damn thing they're going to say.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think there are lots of victims in this, and I think in the end, this poor girl, I think she is this, not so much a person. I mean, she's a person, but she's a product of, I think, a lot of handlers behind the scenes. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel bad for her because her age, it's
Yeah.
easy to exploit young people. I
Yes.
think if they tried this with a woman who's like in her 30s and all that, had more experience,
I would love to see them try this shit with us.
It probably wouldn't have worked with somebody
I would make a mural out of their skins.
Yeah. It would not have worked. However, you're young, you want to make a dent in the universe, you don't know how, you have a minimum wage paying job. I think people saw her in that original little meme and thought, we could do something with this.
Yeah.
And I think they probably talked to her and saw, like, she's got some charisma. Let's put her in scenarios. Like, I know she was out here in LA volunteering, like, at a homeless shelter that
did she spit on them?
I mean, I think she, like you said, maybe she doesn't really know how to do it. But the point is, she did all this nice stuff for the cameras. It looked really good. And I'll admit, at the time, I thought, hey, maybe this girl's on the level. Now, I kind of changed my tune. I think she was probably coached to a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. But it sounds like now she, like I said, she might be over her skis, you know, because she's like, she showed that like CoffeeZilla really got under her skin with nothing but facts, I might add.
Yeah.
Because he was saying a lot of stuff I didn't understand, but as he was saying it, I was understanding the way he kind of says it, which big ups to him. But I was like, yeah, her and her team looked like they were not prepared. They were like deer in the headlights, right? And this poor girl, like, that's why she had to cut the whole thing short. It's like, oh, I got to go to bed, folks, and all that. I think because she was like, man, you guys, this is not what you told me, like what happened. I'm doing all these public appearances, and sometimes they get booed, but I think it didn't matter at the time because they probably told her, dude, bad publicity is okay. They're still going to watch your podcast to make fun of you, but it's money in your pocket.
Right. Except that's not how it works. I mean, there's no such thing as bad publicity, but what's going to happen to this gal? First of all, this will probably take a while to blow over. I'm sure it will, but can you imagine, like, oh, you're the one that it said, like, regardless of whatever value you do, whatever value you add to the world after that, whatever skills you acquire, whatever good human being things that you do, there's always going to be that cloud hanging over her. And, like, honestly, like, I'm not making anyone out to be a victim or not. That's for the courts to decide. But if she did truly get taken advantage of, I hope she sues the shit out of these people. I hope they go to jail because last I checked, financial fraud is still a crime in this country. And I hope the court awards her a huge amount of damages because her reputation now for most things is going to be ruined. Like it takes decades to recover.
I think in the past that would have been true. Nowadays, people get second chances and third chances and all that. I think she is young. And again, that's why I think she was targeted because she's young enough and naive enough that she could say it in the public opinion. Look, There's going to be people who don't like her just because, quite frankly, they're jealous. They wish it was them that got the shot. Like, how many Instagram models are probably like saying that should have been me, right?
At least me.
But I think there's certain people that are like, especially like people who are parents, are going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, I'm going to forgive this girl because like my daughter's about her age and I wouldn't want her to make that kind of mistake, right?
Yeah.
And she'll probably get a chance. Now, you know, if there was still, I mean, she's too tiny for celebrity boxing, but it was like some other kind of a celebrity outlet, right? Like Celebrity Big Brother, like they used to have back in the day. She'd be fine for that.
I
I
don't
mean,
think she
shit,
could
man.
fight an atom weight or featherweight.
Yeah, what, they got fight, have her fighting like Kermit the Frog or what? Like she's tiny, but no, but I have a question for you though,
Yeah.
because it's interesting. During the conference call, remember there's that part where CoffeeZilla is trying to be like, who profited from this? And
Yeah.
they danced around it for like 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then they finally said nobody. It's a foundation, so I'm guessing a foundation under her. Does that offer any protections? Like an
So
LLC?
it does, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of pro athletes and high net worths all have foundations. I think you mentioned the Seahawks. A lot of them got schooled up
Yes.
real quick on
Yes.
finance and legal protections, and they got a lot of good information
By the
given to
late
them.
Paul Allen.
Yeah, by Paul Allen. Because I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to get sued by the ones that are, I'm obviously not going to make any recommendations or conjectures. But there are a lot of ways that you can use foundations and trusts and nonprofit. There's a whole universe of legal structures that can be used to insulate yourself from personal liability. And a lot of those arrangements have tax advantages that people need to realize. If you look at the U.S. tax code, the U.S. tax code has more words in it than the King James Bible, the Torah, and the Quran combined. So taxation is literally its own religion in terms of just breadth and scope of verbiage. And there are people out there who are a hell of a lot smarter than I'm ever going to be that understand how to use that structure to the advantage of their clients. So yeah, short answer, there's probably advantages to that. I wouldn't know what they are.
Yeah, and again, I think some of these people behind the scenes probably
Mm-hmm.
had some contingency plans.
Yep.
You wouldn't know it by how quickly they lost their shit in that conference call. But yeah, but once again, this is just indicative of a bigger problem. It's going to happen again. I know there
Yep.
have been other pseudo celebrities that also did this, and nothing really happened to them. I
Yep.
mean, what would you think? Worst comes to worst, they had to pay some legal fees, but the money they made from this probably offsets a lot of that, right?
Probably. And we look at the fallout from whatever Super Bowl that was, where they had Crypto.com as one of the main commercials. I think they had Larry David and a
Matt
couple of
Damon, right?
like they had big names
Yeah,
in this. And yeah, I none of them certainly went to jail, but a lot of this, they'll probably end up paying a little wrist slap, pay some legal fees, do a settlement, and they'll walk away. And you can love it or hate it, but the simple fact is that the more sophisticated you are, the more capable you are of insulating yourself legally with either structures or with attorneys, just completely everything above board, the less likely you are to suffer permanent damage.
yeah,
So this Haley gal, if she's anything, if there's anything to be found at fault with her, and again, I don't know, and I personally don't care, but people like her, if they're found at fault, they get the book. Right, because
yeah,
someone's going to hang, and you're not going to hang the rich celebrities, you're not going to hang the high-powered attorneys, you're not going to hang the high net worth, but someone is going to be made an example of, and that's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that I don't know how many people were implicated in this on the victim side, on the ruggies, not the ruggers, but I know this was like 500 million or so
Yeah.
market cap before it got pulled. So that's probably more than a couple dozen, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we've already seen, sometimes people, even recently, sometimes people get violent and do things that they shouldn't, because
Hmm.
they're probably not in the right headspace. So I mean, there's that to consider as well. Like, this is gonna, will she get a second chance? Yeah, maybe. But this is probably going to be something that hangs over her head for the rest of her life.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, when the music stops, somebody's always left without a chair.
Yep.
And I mean, the reality is in this situation, like you said, it's probably going to be a slap on the wrist. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, court of public opinion is
Yep.
they're gonna have their thoughts, and she is getting torn to shreds
Oh yeah.
in the comment section.
Yeah.
Can she rebuild herself? Shit, man, if Hulk Hogan could do it, I mean, after the stuff he did, right? I mean, and I don't know. We'll see, but I have a suspicion that this is like what's it, the revelation in was it what, I can't remember which Matrix movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it turns out like
One
Neo
of the
was the
shitty
one.
ones.
Yeah, but it's like he wasn't really the one because there were a bunch of the ones, and it
Yeah.
was just a cycle on a cycle.
That was the second one, with the
Second one,
architect. It was the
the
sixth.
architect.
I think the sixth one.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's gonna be another Hawk Tuah Girl because
Yep.
before her, there were how many like meme stars, like these viral stars and all that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some of them were people that started a YouTube channel and they like they blew up, like people like Mr. Beast, people like
Yep.
that. And then eventually though they do get forgotten because when your only claim to fame is just you're famous for being famous,
Right.
it's like you gotta do something that transcends that. Like, as much as I've never watched the Kardashians or anything like that. At the very least, like they did build an empire, right?
Yes.
Kim Kardashian did kind of go on to do some stuff in the legal field. God bless her. I don't
Mm-hmm.
buy her stuff or anything like that, but I
Well, I
can
don't think we're her
appreciate.
target demographic.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, that's true. But but I could appreciate someone who's like, okay, you know what? I have this platform, but I'm going to do something altruistic for real. And
Yes.
I'm like, okay, all good. Because the majority of these influencers are not. They're just people who, they didn't have extraordinary skills except maybe charisma, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not funny enough to be a comic, like a stand-up comedian. Maybe they're not good looking enough to be like a model, but hey, with social media, you don't really have to do those things. People just have to see something in themselves in you,
Yeah.
some relatability, and you're gonna be all right. It's just too bad that sometimes they fall victim to the same thing that what do you call it? Child actors like in the 80s and 90s fell victim to,
Right.
and it's just then they end up destitute,
Yeah.
and I don't want to see that happen. And you know what? This is all good food for thought because it's probably something that could be covered in future uh, abolishing nonsense sessions. Where we look at the detrimental effect of how too much money
Mm-hmm.
without the financial knowledge can lead to the downfall of someone just as quickly as they rose,
Yeah.
right? And listen, I feel like I'm a show for your guys' Finex podcast sometimes, but I said like if you freaking listened to that, you wouldn't have found yourself underwater with
Right.
memes, with memes like stuff like this. It's just these meme coins, and before that it was like NFTs and all this. It's
Yep.
like
And here's the thing, like every time one of these stupid scams falls apart and everyone gets ripped off, it pisses me off, because I just fundamentally hate people who wantonly defraud others. But that whole ethical thing notwithstanding, it also makes it more difficult for legitimate projects to come out. Like, again, I mean, Vin and I have said multiple times on our other podcast, and to whoever will listen and pretend to care, crypto's garbage, but that doesn't mean that blockchain is. Like you
right.
mentioned NFTs. Well, I have a book. It's that one right there, the rocket one. There you go, mirrored screen. I would have loved to have digital copies of that, blockchain secured, so that you don't have people from Russia, India, China. Those are usually the places that do it. Buy one copy or buy a digital copy, crack the copyright protection, and then just distribute it. Because that's literally years of my life and my co-author's life that went into that. Would blockchain be a solution? I don't know, maybe. It's something that we don't have now. It's something, for things like that, I could see it being useful for things where, for whatever reason, you do need a public ledger, you do need a public participation, but you need high security. Okay, fine. But every time one of these assholes humps and dumps a meme coin and, walks off with millions, whatever progress we make gets pushed backwards. And it just gets delayed. And, I honestly think this just reiterates some of the need to stick to the basics. Like I know you've seen Wall Street Journal a while ago had an article on the new millionaire class. Well, guess what the new millionaire class is in America? They're plumbers and electricians. The people who are actually doing something useful and productive, and more importantly, jobs that nobody else wants to do. Like plumbers, you're literally putting up with other people's shit every day. But I love things like that, and I love the fact that my parents' former neighbors. The dad was a welder. He worked on half of the Las Vegas Strip, and this is a guy with no college education that put several kids through college, no student loans. The wife didn't work. New cars every couple of years, houses paid for. He was a welder. Yeah. And I'm happy when I see people who have developed what I call zombie survival skills make it, and it proves that if you are willing to work your ass off with something that is actually marketable and productive, you can succeed. Like this is one of the only countries in the world where you can do that. Like fuck meme coins. Why bother?
Yeah, I got to add to that. Because again, you're speaking from like definitely your area of expertise, and I got to say something from my mental health lens, and that is when people, clients of mine, especially the younger ones, when they see stuff like this, again, they don't understand anything about blockchain, crypto, or anything like that. All they see is, look, it's another young person. They got famous. I want that fame. Right. I should be able to have that fame. And when they see them, like even if they watch the news, even if the news literally says so and so found guilty of securities fraud, blah 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 blah, they've attached themselves to that fame to the point where they're just gonna be like, oh man, just let them go. They didn't do anything that was that bad. Arrest like the real criminals, blah blah blah. Because again, they see something of themselves in that person, some relatability. Yeah. They want that fame. And it's hard for me then to try to work with them to give encouragement to do things like what you're saying. Like if I have a client that is, let's say, halfway through getting certified to be a welder, let's say he's a year into tech school, but he's not making money yet, right? But then he's like, look at this girl, she did that. I should go into crypto. I know a guy who knows a guy who got Dogecoin and he's rich, which is a load of crap, of course. We all know that. But it's like this whole thing of, because like you said with crypto, right? So the idea of like you want to be able to pass that along. So it's like those pyramid schemes where like you want to be able to pass the bag, and so then you're the one that makes the money. But that's what they see, and they don't. And all of that persistence, all of that dedication and temporary discipline that they had goes out the window because they're just like, yeah, Brian, that works for maybe your other clients, but you know what? I could do what this girl does. I could do it better.
I can sell feet pictures.
Yep. Don't even get me started on
that. My feet are hairy as fuck. I can make a mint selling pictures of my feet on the right websites.
Wait a minute. Is there a demand for pictures of gorilla feet, Harambe
feet? Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna get off on this. I'm gonna go record myself stomping on some cupcakes or some shit and see if anyone wants to bid that up. Daddy needs a Lambo. Man. Let's go.
Oh, that's just great. Hairy Cuban cupcake feet coin. That's going to be the next one right there.
There's somebody for everybody.
And then this time tomorrow, CoffeeZilla is going to be grilling you about your coin. Yeah. But your foundation in the Cayman Islands. Yeah.
They're NFT pictures of my feet stomping baked goods.
Yeah, exactly. Which by the way, has just as much inherent value.
Absolutely.
Altcoin, yeah.
Absolutely. So, I would say even more, because at least it was an exchange of goods for me to get the baked goods to stomp on in the first place. So at least there was some economic fundamentals behind my foot coin.
and at the very least, if they look at you as the individual, they could be like, well, damn, I want to be a pilot one day. I want to be an engineer one day. It's something to aspire to for real. You know what I
Well,
mean?
sure,
But
absolutely.
yeah, so that's my fear, man, is that people are going to see that and they're going to emulate it, but it's like but they have this direction where they want to go, but they don't know the actual path, right? Because
Right.
what you want to tell them, but they won't believe, is that it's like I said earlier, some of these pseudo celebrities, they're like these anointed ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I, in my heart, believe she made that video, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody of the millions and millions of people who saw it, somebody with influence said, "We can market this girl because she's
Oh
pretty,
yeah.
she's funny, and she's an untapped resource. She doesn't have an agent. We can be the first ones to get to
Yep.
her. And once they heard her story, even better. You know, like not kind of a broken home kind of a thing. I'm not saying that as an insult. You know, I mean, I know how people feel when they grow up without like a stable living environment and all that. They want a way out, a better way. And
Yes.
so I hate to say this, but if I had to compare it to something, and I'm not trying to say it's the same thing, but the closest I can think of my profession is when pimps target young girls to be streetwalkers and
Okay.
ladies of the night. There's a demographic you go for,
Hmm.
right? That you can control and you can falsely empower into this false feminist ideal. Like, no, I'm not in power. This is my pimp. He's just my boyfriend. He's not in charge of anything, but he is. He's
Hmm.
he's pulling the strings behind the scenes, but he thinks that by kind of like relinquishing that publicly to you, that you're in control, but you're not. And poor Hawk Tuah is going to find out the hard way when, let's just say, like, if these guys realize we milk this cow for all she's worth, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
time to jump ship and to go find Hawk Tuah Part 2, Electric
Right.
Boogaloo, they're gonna jump ship, and she's gonna be like up shit creek without a paddle, right?
Yeah.
And she's not gonna have those same resources. So she's not gonna be able to navigate those unless you buck the trend. And during this whole like a few months journey, she
Mm-hmm.
actually met good people.
Right.
Dude, she had freaking Mark Cuban on her podcast. You know, I mean,
Jesus, I didn't know. I
she
didn't
was.
know that because I didn't listen to it because I didn't
I,
care.
I only know that
Still don't.
because one of these YouTubers mentioned it, and I was like, "Holy crap, they're right." So
Mm-hmm.
maybe she met some good people that were just gonna like empathize and say, "You got taken advantage of," but you know, look, I'll give you some advice and kind of just try to help you, but they can only do so much because it
Right.
depends how much influence did these dark forces have on her. You know what I
Right.
mean? Again, maybe
And we
I'm
may never
wrong.
know. To be
We
honest,
may never know
it's not
because
like they advertise it that I know
no,
of.
no, and it gets to a certain point where like these pseudo journalists, they don't want to know either. At that point, they're just like, no, we've moved on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's like, remember on The Simpsons when Bart gets famous for saying, I didn't do it," and
Yep.
then after a while, it's just like, that's it. It's like,
Yep.
I didn't do it. That's what my tax dollars
Come
pay for.
on, give us more.
Right? He's got nothing else. When he
Yeah.
tries to sound smart, they're just like, no, just shut up and say the line, right?
Huh?
I mean, there's the Simpsons. What did you say in a prior podcast about the Simpsons being prophetic?
Oh yeah, they
So,
predicted everything of the last 20-something years.
so
Honestly, you know what I can see happening. I can see a couple decades going by, and you know how everything goes, right? Nostalgia's a bitch,
yeah,
and we at some point in the future, you know, this will be revisited, from with a fresh perspective. I don't know how much fresher your perspective could be. These people probably took advantage of someone innocent or at least naive of as to their shenanigans, who got instant fame, and just took her and everyone else for all they're worth. But I can see a couple decades, going by, some Nat Geo or VH1 special gets produced, and they have her as a guest star or an interviewee, and she turns her life around. And
yeah,
that's not entirely hypothetical. That's what happened to Monica Lewinsky.
true,
The Nat Geo
true,
special '90s, the last great decade. Now she's an activist for cyberbullying, or an activist against cyberbullying. She's not advocating for harassment. Uh, but maybe that'll happen with
Well,
this Haley person. Maybe not.
that's an interesting comparison considering both of those women got
Got
famous for the
famous for
same thing.
similar things. Yeah.
One spat on that thing, one smoked that thing. So yeah.
Do not inhale. Oh wait, that was the other guy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we just had to jump on and just kind of say this, because I know, Will, you wanted to, cover this for the financial people out there that got.
Oh yeah, no, this pisses me off. Let me look. Part of me wants to say like, yeah, you got taken advantage of, suck it up and deal with it. But at the same time, that would be like that'd be like you telling someone who knows nothing about mental health or therapy or psychology or like any of the things that you've been trained in that I'm not an expert in, I don't know shit about. That'd be like you telling them, oh, why can't you figure it out? Why didn't you know? Well, why didn't you know how to fly a plane? I can fly a plane. It's fucking easy. No, that's not how life works, unfortunately. No. So no, I do feel terrible for the people that got taken advantage of. It's easy to laugh at them and it's like, you fucking idiot. You should have known better. But when it's your money that disappears, it's not so funny. But no, I do hope the people that got rugged learn a lesson, a painful lesson. I hope they never get taken advantage of again. I hope the people who did not get rugged finally pull their heads out of their asses and realize that there is no such thing as get rich quick. Even the criminals don't get rich quick. They get rich after they put in a lot of effort into building the scam. And there's no value in being rewarded for nothing. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
You're 100% right, man. And I think this is why this is kind of like something that kind of hurt us to the core because of our expertise. And like I mentioned earlier, man, like I feel really badly for some of these young people in particular that, again, there's something about this Hawk Tuah girl that resonated with them. They saw themselves in her and they wanted to join her Hawk Tuah army and they wanted to just carry her banner. And yeah, there's a simp effect. Some of them probably thought they could be her Pookie. But look, but that shows how powerful this sort of like public social influence can be. It makes people who have no direction give all their attention to a girl that, because I advise people, like, you want to pick up women, go out, get out there and do it. But but instead they're like dreaming about this girl.
She'll come to me, right? If only she knew me.
It's like, and then now they're just like, because sometimes men have this problem where they'll put a woman on a pedestal and they prescribe these ideal qualities onto her. And then sometimes they're just like, oh, she's so smart. She's into finance too. She's telling me if I invest in this, I got to make her happy and I got to get rich like her. Yeah. And then in the end, you get neither, right? And it's like, then you find
you didn't go broke. There's that.
You can go, hey, but she might give you a shout out on her podcast,
Does she still have a podcast, or did that get rugged as well?
I'm sure she still does. I'm sure she still does because she's gonna do the whole apology tour when she's reading off the cue cards, like, I didn't mean to do this, blah blah blah. I love y'all.
Ultimately, the internet just wants to see people suffer,
and if you want
it'll forget about it.
Listen, if you want proof that at least some of her fan base will forgive her, just think of how many men take toxic women back after a breakup, right? Like,
I don't have stats on that, but I imagine it's probably more than just me.
I mean, look, it's just, there's a whole black pill community of men that would attest to that. They're there for a reason. They're not ready to join the red pill and do something about it. They're still staying in their negative space because of women like that, that they maybe get their heart broken or they just can't get in general. And then they feel like, oh my God, but that's what happens, man. And so I think there's going to be like how much you want to bet, given all this publicity, all this negative shit. And then she pulls a Kmart and does like, how they declared bankruptcy twice? Could you
Yep.
imagine? But there, there are people who bought their stock twice, though, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, as the late great, as the no, he's still alive, but as the great, to paraphrase the great George W. Bush, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, well, you're not going to fool me again.
Well, I think, I mean, a lot of that, I think, is just kind of a vulture mindset. Like, yeah, people do buy into mistakes. I'm sure some of them have to know what they're doing. I mean, there's an entire philosophy of investing called cigarette butt stocks that are, basically companies that are probably inherently worthless, but much like a cigarette butt that you find on the street, good for one last puff. Although I don't actually know anyone that would pick a cigarette up off the street to smoke it, but I'm sure somebody's out there that's done it.
Walk down Sepulveda Boulevard.
I'd rather
You'll find
not.
some people. You'll
I'd
find
rather
some people.
piss glass.
But yeah, no, that look, I have no doubt if she did a Hawk Tuah 2.0 coin, so the same people, there's going to be a fraction of those people that'll still do it. Like, oh, I trust you this time. I
The
mean,
second one will actually be called Tua.
yeah,
So the Hawk is
right,
the first coin, and then Tua is the second coin.
right. And listen, I just think it's one of those things where this is where we merge our two fields. Is there are going to be those people who make bad investments, like I said, Kmart stock. Let's do it again. Let's run it. Let's run it back, right? And then there's going to be
Mortgage-backed securities. Let's keep doing it.
I knew you were going to say that.
The Bigger Short. That Big Short 2 is going to be fucking awesome. I want The Rock to play me because we look so alike.
Right.
Maybe John can play you. I don't know.
No, that girl they're getting to play Snow White's going to play me. I mean, DEI, man. So
that's true. That's true.
yeah. No, but no. It's just I have a bad feeling because the mindset would be like, let's say someone like we're talking about gets like, yeah, MBSs again, even though they got screwed the first time.
Yep.
How is that different if you take someone from like my line of work where it's someone who picks back an abusive boyfriend, an abusive girlfriend, right? It's like, oh no, but they love me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they love beating the hell out of you too, right?
What are the four most damaging words in the English language, Brian? We've both seen it. This time it's different.
Yeah.
It never is.
No. And then you talk about like the shame about buying something this and losing it all, and your loved ones, once they're done laughing at you and they give you a comforting hug and all that will not be there the second time around.
Yeah, you're not going to Thanksgiving dinner the second time.
No, because it starts to become an addiction. And some people got to realize when they say something like, and I'm just going to make a reference because, I noticed this when I visit you guys and we're out in Philadelphia and all this, and there's a drug problem, and people got to understand
a little bit.
There's a lot of people who say, look at, man, where's that person's family? Right? Why aren't they helping them? But what they don't realize is that statistically speaking, the older that person is, and if they're a lifer on the streets, they've already had family interventions, and the families have tried multiple times to try to help them. They're not ready for it, or they became a danger to the family. So don't be so quick to mock the family and say like, why couldn't someone help them? In all likelihood, they did try. Extended family, immediate family, you name it, right? And so it's the same thing with some of these people who've fallen to, whether it's a crypto scam, a more traditional Ponzi scam. And on some level, I throw like those MLMs into this too, man. They might have the legitimacy of a traditional business in the same way like a timeshare presentation would and all that, but they promote this lifestyle, let's just say, where you have to look rich without actually being rich, so you can sell people on things they do not need. Because that's the ultimate mark of a salesman, right? Is to sell you something that you don't need, you're never going to use, but you bought it from me anyway.
You probably may not even want, to be honest. You know who I respect? Like, I respect the people who are wealthy, they're extremely high net worth, but you don't know shit about them. You don't even know who they are. Like
Correct.
you know absolutely nothing about them. And the ones like I remember years ago when I was in LA still, I went to a luxury car dealership in Beverly Hills. I won't say which one because I don't want to give them free publicity. But one of the band members from Coldplay
Wow.
was there looking at I don't know something a model that was 10 times what I made in a year. But just you would imagine celebrity, big rich famous. No, like the most down to earth motherfucker you would ever meet in your life. Did not give a shit. Big fan of cars. That was a good topic to talk about. But it's like I respect people who are comfortable in their own skin and who don't need external validation. And as far as like the homeless, I see a lot of parallels between what you just said and gamblers.
Yes.
Hey, imagine that living in Vegas for a while. You run into a couple of those who've had their life ruined. And you mentioned something years ago that makes a depressing amount of sense every single day that goes by. And it was about why homeless people don't want food, they want money. And you're like, well, you need to eat, you don't need to shoot up, but you know that they're probably gonna shoot up, right? And you said that it was because even if it was something that they knew was actively damaging them, at least it was some measure of control.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that underpins a lot of these scams, a lot of these stupid crypto so-called investments. Like people in any technical or financial space love using big words to make other people feel stupid.
Right.
Like it's not that fucking hard, all right? It's arithmetic. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and the best investors do it. But I think there's this kind of appeal to authority that's innate in a lot of people because they don't have that themselves. Like, well, I don't understand what this person's saying, but they sound smart. So maybe I should trust him. I should trust this guy. He's wearing a lab coat. Like, whereas neurodeviants like me, like I don't give a fuck what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying, and I'm not going to get snowballed. But I think that may be something that just helps them take advantage of the unsuspecting.
Look, man, you just described what happened in 2008, right? Like, right? I mean,
I
it's
think
just
it was literally one of the Vanek characters, lines from Big Short. They
right,
want you to know.
right. It's like I'm thinking of Too Big to Fail, when Topher
Oh yeah,
Grace's
yeah.
character says, "Well, I have this money, and why not take out another loan to buy a home? Because if the bank says I can afford it, even though I can't, they must know something because they're the experts, right?"
Yeah. But they're not going to hold your mortgage more than 3 months. They'll sell it off to someone else, and they don't give a shit if you pay back or not. So,
Bingo, and they never say that part.
right.
Like a lot of these people, to use a phrase that Vin often says, is that they don't know how the sausage is made,
Yep.
right? And so this is what happens, and these poor suckers. There's no other word for it. I hope they learn from it, and I hope that they get And here's the phrase I like using: I hope they get that internal locus of control,
Yep.
and they don't look to these idols to dictate how they find meaning in their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I hope, like, it's one thing to, like, for example, be a fan of a sports team, but when the game's over, you check out, you go home. You don't make it your mission to, like, stay and worship them for another time, not unless there's overtime, right? But like, but some
Definitely not if
people,
they're one of the Jets. Who are the team that suck this year?
Jets. Oh, the Jets. That's where you go for your career to die. You can ask Aaron Rodgers. He's dying on the vine right now. But yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's just, and it's unfortunate, man.
Yeah.
And I think you and I, we spoke before this because we had to jump on, because I think from our individual fields, we had to get this shit out there, because
Yeah.
we were
Of
both,
course.
I think we were both just affected by how this could have hurt people in our respective fields, potential clients of ours or
Yep.
actual clients of ours who thought maybe like, oh, yeah, I invest my portfolio with Willie and Vin over here, but I got a little extra money. Let me see if I could do this on my own, right? Sometimes it is best to put your money with the experts. And
Yep.
when you gamble like that, it's just the house wins, man. And in
Yep.
this case, the house of Hawk Tuah just took people for 500 mil, right?
Yep.
And put it into the foundation of Hawk Tuah.
Was
And
the
so,
best line from the original Fast and Furious? But you can't get in the ring with Ali because you think you box. I mean, if you're Jake Paul,
right, exactly. And I mean, in
was a
those
low shot.
and them Paul bro boys, they didn't they do some stuff with the meme coin or something too?
I think so. I don't know. Honestly, once you see how the sausage gets made with a lot of this crypto crap, you realize these people don't have a fucking clue. And I actually I'm one of these idiots that actually wants to learn. And when I say that most of the people hawking this crap are morons and completely deluded, uh, it's because I talk to them in person. Like I've gone to crypto conferences. That's money and time I'm never getting back. But I'd rather spend my money on that than on some flyer investment that ends up getting rugged. And like the majority of these people, especially the ones that are pushing the hardest, they don't have a fucking clue. And you can tell by talking to them, like, oh, I've got some new technology, and they go on and they describe literally what a distributed ledger is, or well, taxes are illegal if you really read the Constitution. And I was like, all right, you're a fucking idiot. You're going to jail. Like my only regret is that I'm not in law enforcement, so I can't be the one to slap the cuffs on them. That would give me a perverse sense of joy. But
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. Like like I said, they're ripping people off. They're taking advantage of the ignorant and the stupid, and they're kneecapping people who genuinely want to do some good. And some of these people I met are some of the goddamn smartest programmers I've ever encountered. I don't know if I trust them with my money, but they certainly have. They're certainly good at their talents. So
yeah,
it's just criminality just
agreed.
fucks everyone over.
Agreed. And you know what, man? The last thing I'll say on this is I want to make this a challenge, man. A challenge to our listeners, a challenge to young people, this new generation. If you were smart enough, or maybe had the right people in your life and the right mentorship to know, like, hey, I'm not putting my money on this. They're not going to get one red cent from me.
Right.
That's great. Take it a step further. Create something better. Innovate. Right? How many times you and I, man, we talk about like our generation had imagination. This generation, not so much. They look to others for that fulfillment instead of looking to themselves and looking to the stars, so to speak. My challenge is, if you saw people get defrauded, and a long time ago I wrote this little thing about like the people like who were the children of the people who got defrauded in 2008, right? And then they grew up to probably be those people who like shorted like GameStop and all this just as a fu to the financial
Oh
system.
the meme stock run up there. Yeah, they bought into it to short squeeze the hedge funds.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of them were holding. It wasn't about the
Yep.
money,
It's about
and they bought
sending a message.
exactly.
Insert Joker face.
Exactly. But you know what? They were motivated by the pain the family went through. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like like if you're one of those people, and this isn't anybody's fault, but if you bought one of those homes that was foreclosed on, but
Mm-hmm.
like you go in there and sometimes people do this little thing where like when their kids are this tall, they mark it on the walls,
Yep.
and you see that, that house had memories of that family that lost everything. And it's
Yep.
not your fault, because you
Paint
bought a
over it.
house. Yeah, you paint over it. But I'm saying like, but there's pain. That kid is gonna grow up with that trauma,
Yeah.
but that kid is gonna either let it uh destroy him or her,
Mm-hmm.
or they're gonna be like, no, I'm gonna do something better. I'm gonna not I'm gonna work to make sure that people don't get screwed over like the way like my parents did. But more importantly, I'm going to learn from my parents' mistakes and put myself in a situation where I don't get screwed over like dad did. You know, I'm not going to take out like 3 home loans and all this stuff and buy all this stuff because I trusted the bank.
Right.
That's my hope. That's my hope, that I'm going to challenge listeners right now to be like, you know what, or even if you did fall for this and you're like 20 years old, listen, man, I bought into, I remember I told you when I was like 20 something, I bought into like those penny stock scams. I got Jordan Belforted, you know. Now happily it wasn't a lot of money.
Hana?
You know, they sold me that pen, but happily I wasn't making a whole lot of money, so consequently I didn't invest a whole lot of money. But happily most of my money went into my my Evo 8 at the time. But but at least that gave me a return on investment in terms of adrenaline. But in this situation, I hope people can you know, they bounce back from it, they learn from it, and man, and just become stronger and fucking just become a leader, be a real inspiration to someone for creating something other than spitting on a cock.
To be fair, it was a microphone. No, I agree. And it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like the cycle of abuse, right? Like, are you going to, if you got defrauded, are you going to continue being a victim, or are you going to get pissed off and, you know, do something about it to make sure that other people don't get defrauded? Sorry, let me backtrack. Are you going to do something productive and legal to make sure that other people don't get defrauded? Because that's the world we live in. We have to specify these things. And yeah, like how many people who grew up post 08, you know, after the parents lost everything, how many of them went to work for FDIC or SEC or any of the other alphabet agencies? You know, I know at least 4 did because I met them, and those were their stories. You know, how many of them, you know, went into law? Like, okay, I just watched the people I love most get obliterated financially, like we're fucking homeless. Literally, you know, my dad took to drinking, like whatever their situation is, you know, and turned their lives around. And, you know, that doesn't excuse what happened, but if you can make something of yourself afterward, at least you can, at least if the people who got hurt were ones you love, at least they can look to you as like, well, you know what? I got screwed over, but my pain inspired them to do this. And now they're making sure no one else gets fucked over the way I did. Like that, this is not going to put money back in your pocket, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an emotional payoff.
Yeah, it's because it serves a greater purpose. You get to spare someone else the pain and hurt and loss of what you went through. And so in that sense, being preventative is a hell of a lot better than being reactionary. So,
okay, Reagan. Prevention is better than a cure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just say that. And yeah, no, I mean, like I said, man, you and I, we spoke before this, where it was like, no, we got to put this shit out there. And so, I mean, I hope if anyone's listening, if you got defrauded, we're sorry. And we hope some of the input we gave could be of some help to you.
Please seek legal counsel.
Yeah. I know there is a league, some legal that said, contact us if you've been Hawk Tuah, you know?
Well, there you go. There you go. I didn't know that, but good. At least somebody's trying to do something about it.
Yeah. So basically, Hawk Tuah didn't stick around for the climax. Yeah. So yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway, man. But hey, Willie, it was good jumping on with you, brother.
Good talking to you, man.
All righty. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.